Hi, it's Paula here, the Caravan Hooker. Thanks for joining me. Your best ever beanie tutorial part 1. You're going to love these beanies. They are beautiful, and now they match up with our ribbed gloves and of course make a great set. Now if you're a beginner here, you're going to be learning about ribbing and working with a 12 ply chunky wool, a number 5 hook. So I sampled these in a lovely wool alpaca, and I chose a 5 hook and found that was a really nice fit to get the finish I was after. So let's start with a slip knot in order to get started. And if you're new here, thanks for joining me. I appreciate your purchase of the pattern, and I hope that you find the tutorials helpful in learning new skills and helping you through the pattern as we go. So you'll start off chaining the required number of chains depending on the size that you've chosen. Now this pattern comes with 3 sizes: adult sizes, small, medium and large, and they are color coded on our patterns if you've got the PDF version. So once you get to the required level of number of chains, you'll then be working into the 3rd chain from your hook. Now these 2 chain that we're missing or skipping, we're not going to count those as a stitch. Right, so we're going to do a half double crochet. So yarn around the hook, through your chain, yarn around your hook, draw it through, and then once more yarn around your hook and through all 3. Now if you find it difficult to draw your hook through, you'll notice that my left hand, I place my thumb at the base of the stitches and pull them down to open up those loops to make it just that little bit easier. And you'll see the evidence of this in the next stitch you'll learn in this pattern, our yarn over slip stitch. So a half double crochet, using US terms for this pattern. Alright, so your first stitch and then counting through. So your 2 chains become part of that first stitch. And that's your first row completed. Now when we get to the end, we are going to only chain 1 and turn. For a half double crochet you would expect to possibly chain 2, but I quite like doing just 1 chain because it drags the stitch down and gives a little bit of a shaped effect. This area here, we'll just do our chain, turn your work away from you, and we are now going to continue in row 2. Now we are at the crown or top area of the beanie. Now we're going to go into the back loop, yarn over slip stitch back loop. So go through, pop your yarn over your hook first of all, through your back loop, draw your chain through, draw your thread through, and just then see how I pull that stitch just to drop it open, and then slip stitch as per normal. Let's do that again. Yarn over hook through the back loop, yarn over, pull through, and continue through the last 2 loops. Now this yarn over slip stitch in the back loop is creating a slightly more narrow area in that upper crown top end of the beanie for the shaping of the head. What it does, it helps to eliminate the bulk that you often get with the rectangular shapes that often beanies are just crocheted or knitted as. And you'll see that when you come to do the closure in part 2. Right, and then we're continuing. Once we've done the desired amount of stitches, 7 stitches, we are then going on to a HDC now in the back loop. Back loop only. From here on in, your stitches are in the back loop. I apologize, I did not write that just there, but on your pattern you should see it is a half double crochet in the back loop. When we get to the end, just need to watch that you don't miss that last stitch. Now this is the stitch where we had skipped our first 2 chain. You'll see we get a lovely ridge effect by going into the back loop. 1 chain and turn. And into that first stitch below the chain, we are going straight in there, back loop, and we are doing our half double crochet. Now because we've only done 1 chain, that first stitch tends to drop forward and can be easily missed when you come back across that row. So I recommend, if you're not familiar with seeing and being able to pick up that stitch, that one there, that you do just pop in a stitch marker, particularly for those who are new crocheters and are learning this stitch. Nothing worse than getting partway through your beanie and realizing that you have missed a stitch at the end of a row and have somewhat decreased your beanie size. So half double crochet, and there we go. Between each of those ridges, which look like a knit purl, you've got 2 rows. So we're working into our last stitch here. We're back at the top, so we're doing our yarn over slip stitch, back loop only, turn the work, and then once we've done enough yarn over slip stitch back loops, we're back to our half double crochet. So it's a really easy pattern with basically 2 stitches that you're doing throughout the creation of your beanie. I love the fact that we've created shaping in the top. It is going to give you a really nice fit. Okay, and then I'll just show you here how you can see we've got that tapered in area in the crown area. Right, and we're up to the end, and you'll see how important it is for us to be able to see that last stitch and ensure we don't miss it. Pop out your marker, and we're doing our last stitch, half double crochet, back loop only, 1 chain, turn, and continue. So this area is your turn up area, and we'll always have half double crochets. There's no shaping here, so your rows remain consistent. Again, see how that stitch falls forward? Let's pop our marker in to be sure we don't miss it on the way back, and continue across the row. And here we have our 5 rows. So you see we've got 2 to the ridge, 2 to the ridge, and 1. That's our first 5 rows completed, and you can see how that tapered area is definitely reducing the width at the top. So you now will continue with your 4 pattern repeat and pop on to part 2 to finish the completion of your beanie. Thanks for joining me.